That's it. For all that live footage I'm sending out on Pornhub. People are
right.
like, what the fuck are they talking about? We're back, Joe.
When he's not minting tokens.
After we took an MLK day.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good.
I needed a break, but I should have gotten some sleep. I got like 3 hours last night helping with some homework shit last night.
Oh yeah.
Some
new math kind of thing.
No, she has no trouble with any of it. It's the only trouble was not starting over the weekend and instead going to lots of parties and going out on a boat yesterday and then she has Chinese tests, so that was
ni hao.
Yeah.
Bijou.
Yeah, I figure she better be able to speak to our future overlords. So
ain't gonna happen. Don't worry about that one.
They need us to be rotten capitalists.
Yeah, because they're worse than us, man. They're like the rottenest of. I'm sorry, I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying that.
Here we go.
For real. They play for keeps. So
I had a nice long weekend, and then my kids have another long weekend this weekend. They're off Friday.
Yeah, Friday's a holiday, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's I think it's like a teacher work day or something. I don't know, but you go to that fancy private school, so you may not get out.
No, I know that.
Would you just remember you forgot to pay tuition?
No, exactly. Well, that's what
all those trying to figure out how you're going to after the last few days.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. I'm like, oh shit, I'm out of money again. But you know me, one of these will pop, or something else will happen. Something will come along. So I don't really worry about that shit. But yeah, no, they're all out of school constantly nowadays. It seems
it's crazy. It's crazy. Although I miss virtual school. It was a lot fucking easier. I didn't have to get up at 6 a.m. to drive my children to school. So
yeah, hasn't that turned into a total nightmare?
Fuck.
I mean, it was great when they were all just like locked up all day and you didn't have to worry about where they were.
Well, I'm only 5 months away from driving children freedom. So that's when Zachary turned 16. So.
Oh yeah, my daughter just got a little Jeep.
Nice.
So she's going for freedom, but she doesn't get hers. She didn't get her learner's permit until later. So you still have to wait a year after you get it, as you know, in Florida, to get the actual license. But all her friends have them, and they come pick her up and go out, and it brings down all that whole new set of worries. You start remembering your like typical Friday night in high school. Which involves some kind of a muscle car, and everybody had a 6-pack. And
thankfully, my son is pretty scared of his own shadow, so I'm actually not too concerned about them driving. So,
they're not big drinkers anymore.
If he's stoned, I don't care. But they're all vaping. That's all good for me. Yeah, that's fine. I don't give a shit. Exactly. Exactly.
Too much pressure on these kids. I mean, I think we discount this too much too. That
it's insane.
This fucking pandemic thing. I mean, we lived under like nuclear holocaust and all that shit, but you got used to it.
Yeah.
The pandemic thing just came out of nowhere, and it's sort of in their like formative high school years.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And
brutal.
It's accelerated driving them onto all these social media platforms even faster.
Yeah.
And
imagine if our kids weren't. Imagine the kids who aren't as privileged as ours are. Right? Like what they went through. That's a fucking nightmare. I can't even imagine.
Well, a lot more deaths in the immediate family, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
And no electronic gear at home a lot to do the distance learning pieces.
Lost income, it's just brutal. It's brutal.
But anyhow, hopefully that shit's almost over.
Okay, so let's go from that depressing note to Olympus Down.
So yes. Yeah, there we go. If the truck wasn't in the ditch yet. Here it goes.
So some big fucking whale. 2 days. Was that 2 days ago? I don't know. Anyway, it's painful. Decided he wanted. Now, here's the crazy thing. This whale dumps to secure. Look, I got no problem with selling some profit to set it aside. right? Feel good about the financial freedom that gives you and your family. And that's there was exchanges going on with the guy that sold it, right, on Twitter. And he still holds a ton of Olympus DAO, but I guess he wanted 13 million. He ended up with 11 million because of slippage. But
oops.
Yeah, but he was trying to say, I'm setting it aside. And the response that I saw were like, well, dude, have you ever heard of fucking over the counter? Because you fucking effectively tanked the value of literally thousands of people in one fail fucking swoop trying to sell $13 million on a DEX. It's just like, just fucking think about what you're doing, right? Now, who knows? Maybe it was a bigger strategy. Maybe he had some funds set aside. He wanted to buy in cheap. I don't fucking know. He got in early, so he was way up anyway. The saddest thing about it is that at its peak, that 13 million was probably worth a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
Right.
130.
So, dude, what? I guess he was feeling desperate and just was like, fuck it, my wife's going to kill me if I don't get this money out. But it's just like, I don't know. Well, I don't understand why people don't think through what they're doing, because here's the irony. He's also a huge investor in Redacted. And I think he said Wonderland. So what happened when all the rolling liquidations started hitting? And so that's the other thing he did. Not only did he push the price down, but then he wrecked his fellow community members who were on leverage, right? Like in one fell swoop. I mean, there was no chance of anybody getting out in time or covering their debt, because he did it so suddenly and so abruptly. And so he not only plummeted everyone's overall value, but then he liquidated a huge chunk of people that are leveraged, right? And probably were on the edge hoping this thing was going to kind of climb back up. So for me, really irresponsible behavior, just shitty, non-community based behavior. And at the same time, all the other rebase tokens followed it down, because everybody started freaking out that it was about the rebase tokens, right? Because there was a piece of FUD put out by another asshole.
Daniel?
On the same day, this fucking fund manager named Jordy. And Jordy was going off about how basically all he's saying is, Olympus DAO is a Ponzi, but he never named Olympus DAO, but he's calling Olympus DAO a Ponzi. But by the definition that he put in the article, every fucking security on the planet is a Ponzi, right? Especially in DeFi. So, he put out this elaborate, trying to be cute, funny, tongue-in-cheek, mafioso themed fucking piece on the same fucking day that the guy does the dump. So it's just this cascading impact, right? So everybody gets their ass kicked, like across the board in rebase world, everybody gets their ass kicked, right? So just stupid fucking behavior. You could have reached out to OTC. You could have reached out to other whales. You could have, reached out to a project that wants to own in their treasury. Huh? Wow. Would that have been
I can think of 20 of those.
Yeah. So it's like, well, it's just the lack of analytical thinking and and allowing emotions to cloud you. I'm sure he probably saw the FUD and panicked and wanted to get out before, everything went south if it did, which I get. Just don't be an idiot. Like, this is a community.
Or I mean, you could maybe he's trying to save on gas fees or something, but I was going to say you could break it apart into like 20 orders.
Exactly. Small orders over like a week, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
Instead of all of them in one fucking trade. So
that's why I remember Matrix Swap that I was looking at for a while. And you had that nuke button that closed out all your positions stable. And I said, that's a fucking scary thing to have. Your wife's bitching at you like, boom, nuke it. You're like, out. I'm out. You can't have that kind of mentality. You have to go steady.
It's just a shitty behavior. I don't fault the guy for wanting to get his cash out. Absolutely do not fault him for saying, fuck it, I've let 200 million slip out of my hands. I want to get some money. But just do fucking something. Thanks, James. Great. Yeah, man, it's just stupid. You just wrecked everybody. And he wrecked his other investment. He's a huge holder in Redacted too. and Redacted took a fucking massive hit. So it's just people don't.
Yeah, it's well, if he was at 130 or something and now he's at 13 or whatever, and he's panicking, feeling like he's going to miss it, then you do have to break it apart. But he should not be rushing into this like today or yesterday going, oh shit, I got to dump.
Yeah.
I mean, the signals were out there for a while. Right. I mean, I've been bleeding out over here, so I can tell you it's been going on for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
So Aaron, Eamon, and James are all thumbs up on this point of view.
Yep.
Anyway, so that sucked. But now here's the fallout. Here, let me see if share screen's gonna fuck. By the way, anybody knows a better option than StreamYard, please let me know. It sucks the shit out of CPUs. So I do not recommend this product, although I've paid for a year in advance.
You're on that Radio Shack, that Tandy computer, right?
Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to try to share screen, but I'll probably lose my fucking video because it'll wipe out this brand new fucking MacBook. So let's see what happens here. Oh, I'm going to take that mind map away. We don't need that, do we, Joe?
No, not yet.
Not yet. That's the secret sauce.
While you're pulling that up, I did read. Did you read the Ben Lilly stuff on Jarvis Labs?
I did not. What did Ben have to say?
He's kind of, it's hard. It could be hard for me to explain it real fast, but essentially he kind of looks at the macro market stuff too. And he's looking at euro dollars and that they're a forward indicator of where people expect U.S. interest rates to be in the future. So you look at where they're at, probably priced right now at about like a 0.7. So that means that the market's expecting the interest rates to go up to, 0.7, 0.75, over the course of the next, 6 to 9 months. And so he starts taking all of that and looks at what happens when they sort of zero out, bottom out, and their rates start going up. And there's always a market increase. There's a huge rally usually around then too, because the selling's already been done. It's already been priced into the market. And so he's making a pretty interesting argument about that. We know there has to be a little blow off correction in equities. It's too inflated. But once that happens, whoever hasn't adjusted yet or done anything, that it's going to set up for a next equity rally, which of course supports all the macro conditions for the melt up big blow off top rally in crypto. So, but he's saying it gets to 1.5 interest rates and then they kind of come back. But when I look at that, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But I don't think 1.5 is going to come until like 2023. So is he saying sideways until 2023? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to dig out. Yeah. But he's calling for a lot of trading. This is not buy and hold long-term time. He's calling for trading, basically.
Wow, interesting.
Which is fun. I like that. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to exit the screen for a second. I have to reset my permissions in order to share screen. I'll be right back, buddy.
All
right. So talk to the people, Joe. You're on the air.
Oh, so you left completely. All right. So there's a couple of things I noticed. I'll just go through a few media things real fast. There was an interesting article on being crypto and about 44 DeFi hacks in 2021. Mainly due to centralization issues, or were due to centralization issues, according to CerTic report. So there's an interesting hack report out by CerTic right now, or it came out a couple days ago. It talked about 44 DeFi hacks and what they were all about. Definitely worth reading. Market News reports 44 DeFi hacks on January 15th is the date of publish. The other thing I was looking at is you're always talking about stacks a lot. And I saw something about Alex Lab. That's a BTC DeFi play on stacks. So I sent the link to you, I think. We'll look at it later on, but it's Alex.
Pull it up.
Alex Lab or Alex. And it looks pretty interesting. But go ahead. You're back. All right.
No, it's all good.
Stories real quick.
It's all good. Let me go to our shared spaces here. Let's see.
And there's, there's a lot of real-time stuff going on in Jarvis Labs right now, which is not normal. Calling it it's a critical spot for BTC and rest of the alts as well, would be careful on position sizing in this range as it tightens. And that's
Yeah,
1208.
I was in a conversation with a very large family office yesterday, or no, this morning. It's all a blur. And he's expecting 32 right now. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag, mixed signals.
Well, my feeling is that look, it's going to do one of two things. It either stays sideways with some support here until it's ready to move, or it makes a fast move down, followed by a fast move back up. It's not and then it's going to do the same thing. So right. It's like, or go off on another trajectory if something else happens. So to me, I wasn't really paying attention a lot in June when it was doing the last correction, and I didn't realize it got down to 28. I had no friggin' idea. I was just thinking, 40s, whatever, but 58, 68 to 28 is a pretty big move.
It's about 50%, buddy. Remember? We talked about 50%.
Yeah. Okay. But,
56 to 28.
Huh? Oh no, I was saying 68 to 20.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's roughly the same thing, dude. It's roughly the same thing.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking about how, it's gonna, wherever it goes, it's gonna. I haven't looked at liquidation levels lately or where all the longs are, but it would tell me that there's a point somewhere where it bounces.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what you said, 32, or if it's 28, or if it's 36. But I think that those kind of pain points create movement up.
I agree,
because it cleans out all the fat.
Yep.
And then it's a clear running board. So I don't really fret those because they're over fast. Yeah. It's
I agree.
This sort of slow bleeding death thing that I don't like.
Yeah, it's brutal. So did you see Trading Edge's comments? Did you read those while I was
I'm just going into them now. I was talking.
He says, I don't know. I'm on the fence with the Ohm situation. Just shows how fragile the ecosystem was. I'm still of the opinion that BTC and ETH has been trading in a bear market. So most of these Ohm projects have never been through a bear. And if it can't withstand the current selling, how will they withstand a crypto winter? Look, I there's truth in what he's saying. My point of view at this point is, from what I know of the projects I'm in, Ohm, Wonderland, Redacted, they all have a strong plan. They all have a strong team. By the way, I'll be interviewing one of the founders of Redacted today at 3:00 for the pod.
It's not live, right? That's for tape. No. Okay. For later.
They all have a strong team. They all have a big treasury. They all have a purpose and a mission and a strategy. And those are all things that I care about, right? And at the end of the day, in terms of liquidity, Ohm has kind of shifted things the way they were. Olympus DAO has shifted the mindset of what things were going to be. But I agree, whether or not the rebases are sustainable or not is another story. Now, Olympus DAO's community had already voted to reduce from 5,000 to 1,000 this month, right? So they already recognize the dilution problem. And there's a lot of discussion going on about revenue models and sharing with the community, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so at the end of the day, there are a shit ton of very smart people in the Olympus DAO community. And I personally feel pretty good about that. So am I still sweating the down? Sure. But I still feel pretty good about it. When it comes to, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, look, this is a tricky one because we've never experienced this type of play with a rebase token. I haven't ever been in a rebase token since before this year or before 2021. So I think we don't know the effects of it coming out, but it's either emissions, through rewards, or it's rebase. Yeah. And you're going to dilute one way or the other. So I think what happens here is exactly what you're talking about. And we've touched on this a few times. Stacks just got listed on Coinbase. Hey, thanks,
shit. James. That's awesome.
That, a lot of times when things are, come out with an IPO and they make that big pop. And then, of course, the lockup ends, whatever they've agreed to, let's say 6 months out. And then people start selling shares. Price goes down. And you just sort of wait to, can they execute on the business model? And you see what happens. And you usually accumulate. I mean, a lot of people did that with Facebook. I remember when Facebook was really in the tank after the IPO. And everybody's like, oh, just wait for the advertising. And it's like, yay, here comes all the advertising. But, I think with Ohm and stuff, I kind of like just riding it out and seeing what happens at this point, because they can execute. They're doing more things. If it's just a straight up, oh, it was a financial thing, let's see what happens, we're going to do lending or something like that, that doesn't show progress to me. It shows progress when you pick an ecosystem that you're going to start playing in, whether it's GameFi or play to earn or whatever you're looking at. At that point, it seems to me that that's where you take the money you raise, like it was an IPO, and use it for the next thing.
Yep.
So whoever
I agree.
Whoever comes in now on Ohm, I mean, I don't know, what is it, still around $100, but
111, something like that.
I mean, the only thing that bothers me is I look at that, and you go read the docs, and they talk about it going to $1 everywhere, and you're just like,
well, that's the supporting underneath, right? So 106. Oh, so we're doing that slow grind.
But if they could basically, if you could take this model of Ohm, do the next pieces they're talking about, and actually generate cash flow from that and have revenue from it, to where you can actually start showing some revenue. I mean, that's what, from us .com veterans, that was what, that was the differentiator. You took the 40 million in VC money to go buy the Super Bowl ads and all the other crap. And you better generate revenue at that point, or grow users, or do something that shows a positive, scale up. If you don't, then they cut you off. So I think the same thing happens here in crypto, or in these Ohm forks, but it's much more democratic and egalitarian. We vote because we're not particularly tied. We vote because, by selling or buying more. What's this? Yeah, they go. Yes, exactly. So if you get that messaging out there now of what you're doing with all that money, then it becomes something new.
Yeah.
But if look at Amazon. I mean, Amazon was just going to be books. And I think it even, I don't know if it actually even started at just school books, so that might have been another client. But, and then they scaled up to, who would have thought movies? Who would have thought Amazon Prime? Who would have thought Whole Foods? Who would have thought Target? All that shit. I mean, if you could take this money and grow that kind of an empire, then you're going to make out like a bandit. And if I see Ohm lower, I'm going to buy the hell out of it.
Yeah, so Trading Edge said, unfortunately, a lot of folks are of the opinion that 3.3 doesn't really change, that the folks earliest in will still profit most by dumping on the later buyers. I actually think that's a very valid point, but I think here's the difference, what Joe was just saying, which is that when you have that much money in the treasury, think about if you had handed a startup, whatever it is, $900 million, right? Like with already having a team of a few thousand people, a good chunk of those who are very smart and passionate about a project, and you had a community that was even bigger than that, who was supporting it and wanting to see it survive, and you had all of these stakeholders in that project who wanted to do it because they've bled out, and right now they're at that dump or see what the community can do. I think the difference here from like every other token since 2017 that had no fucking purpose is there is a purpose, there's a mission, there's partnerships. By the way, all of the major projects, Andre Cronje, Alchemix, Scoopy, all of them came out with tweets yesterday saying, I don't give a fuck what happened with Olympus. They have made us, they have helped us a shitload with Olympus Pro, and they are a brilliant concept, and it has changed the entire game of DeFi. When you have all that in a mix and all that money, I think you've got a lot of potential on the upside. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I think you have a lot of potential on the upside. Then Trading Edge said, but at this, he said, so hope we're going to make it, but at this point it's turned into hopium. Calculators went out the window. And yeah, look, we're all kind of throwing out the rebase calcs at this point. It's just like whatever's there is there. At this point, I don't even care if they stop all rebase. For me personally, it's like, let's just make this thing whole and bump this price back up. So
the big ones, yeah, like Olympus, yeah. Now,
exactly.
some of my smaller ones, they're still cranking along. I mean, LifeDAO, Fortress, Unis, I mean, they all have their various levels of screwiness going on in different ways, but they just keep adding to the numbers. So remember, these are ones I only put a couple $100 in, and I'm down, but still it's just adding tokens. So what I look at is I look at these and I'm thinking, okay, so remember after what I like to call wave one, which was the 17, 18 time frame.
Right.
And then, I call like this 2021, sort of in my mind, it's wave two. But then there's also another mini wave that came behind wave two, which was the wave one players like Cardano's and Trons and all those guys, getting somewhere. I mean, I remember I sold Cardano when it was at like 11 cents.
Yeah.
And, saw it go to 2 something and then back down to wherever it is now. Ripple, I sold low, Stellar, and they all went up. Now, do they have long staying power? I don't think so. But there's always going to be another wave. So what I'm getting at is I think that, that these rebase ones could be like that kind of a little mini wave coming behind it. And so they're worth just holding on to me.
Yeah.
And if they go lower, buy 10,000 of them or something,
Trading Edge said, I hear your point, but that's a changed narrative. And I actually, look, if they shut off rebasing, that would be a changed narrative. Everything else I've said has been talked about from the beginning. They've built an incubator. They have reduced emissions, and they have a plan for reducing emissions. There are so many projects in the pipeline, it's impossible to keep track of all of them. There are entire DAOs being created as incubators and investment vehicles for projects to utilize Ohm. So yes, I can see what you mean by changing narrative, but I think that that would be the only changing narrative is if like rebasing cut off completely. All of these other things in use of the treasury and the community were all things that are already in the pipeline. So I don't think it's a complete change in narrative from what they were saying they were going to try to do with the treasury.
Well, it's too bad that okay, so let's say all the people who were in Olympus at the beginning, just thinking about this rebase issue a little bit, but I'm thinking about all these future Olympus investments and different projects that are getting involved in. These aren't corporations, so there's no ownership with the token of anything, but there's some way to take those Ohm tokens, and if you're going to do something adjusting rebase or not, but somehow where they get a piece of all the other projects.
Yeah.
So maybe when they go seed another fork or whatever, or stabilize a treasury, another fork, and they go park, some amount of Ohm there, that, some percentage of tokens and stuff from that new rebase play come back to all the existing Ohms token holders who were like, maybe if you're going to put 10 million in, maybe like 8 is, I'm trying to think how to do this, but some portion of that gets credited to the people who, are the Ohm stakeholders, that 92% or whatever that's in there. And so that they start earning tokens from the other plays that are starting instead of the Ohm token as a rebase alternative.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Eamon said, at this point, I'm just hopeful that they either can get the price to recover or rebase the hell of it. And then he brings up a really important point that I was reading a bunch about yesterday. And that is the bot that the mechanism needs, the protocol needs bot protection. Because what's happening right now is bots are coming in, buying 10 minutes before the rebase, taking the tokens and dumping them, taking the tokens and dumping them, taking the tokens and dumping them. So totally agree with that. And I hope it's something they're going to think about and address. I wanted to catch, they did a community call yesterday afternoon and I couldn't do it. I was on another call, but I'm assuming that's part of what Zeus discussed. I have no idea. I'm waiting to see a recording of it.
Well, remember, it was either Life or Fortress. One of those two has that cooldown period. So when you put your money in, you stake it, you still, I think, earn the tokens, but you can't pull it out for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So at least cuts it down to like 3 or 1 potential bot rebase heist instead of 3.
Yep.
I don't know if that makes a difference though, actually.
So Danielle was already kind of in this phase of he was moving away from time. That happened before the big dump yesterday. He'd had a call, a Twitter Spaces day before yesterday, I believe it was, where he talked about the fact moving away from time again. They had posted an article about it previously. They've been talking about this all along. And he's always said that he expected his project to diverge from the Olympus DAO model. and to do a lot of investing and to be an incubator of sorts and to help foster DeFi projects. But in the last 24 hours, they've gone a step further. They've announced that not only are they kind of departing, they're actually going to severely cut emissions. So today, they killed all of their bonding. All bonding is off on the site. There will be no more emissions from bonding at Wonderland time. So that's pretty drastic. Then he did a tweet thread the other day or yesterday or today, where he talked about the fact that he really wants it to function as a SPAC. I think prior to making that tweet, he probably should have understood a little bit better about how a SPAC functions, because it doesn't exactly fit, but I get the idea. I think his idea is we're going to go out and roll up projects into the ecosystem, something you and I talk about a lot, Joe, in terms of a DAO. And the whole model of Keiretsu is to create this family of products, which he already has done really well building, right? Abracadabra, everything else that he's got going, MIM, Spell, Time, WMemo, all the projects, Popsicle that he's got going, all feed each other, right? I think they could do a much better job of showing that they all work together, but that's another story. So I have a lot of faith in him. I feel like this is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but I have a feeling it's stuff he's been thinking about for quite a while. But he kind of has more freedom to make those moves, because he was from the very beginning said that he was going to make some big changes, right? And that he wasn't going to be Olympus DAO. He was going to be something different, just utilizing that rebase mechanism from the beginning. So, sure. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. There was an interaction with him yesterday too. People were getting liquidated because they were obviously margined too sharply. And yeah, I think he's empathetic. I think he feels bad for those people losing their money. Not a lot he could do about it. The other thing that happened yesterday is Memo went below its realized value of the treasury, and they fulfilled their promise and started buying it up and boosted the price back up. So that's a manual mechanism they have right now. It's not algorithmic, but they're keeping their promises, and they did boost that price up and buy it out of the market to boost it up. So that's interesting. I had
to see if people take advantage of that now. If there's going to be now everybody trying to drive the price down, knowing that he's going to buy
right.
It.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because a lot of the other ones haven't done that.
Yeah,
they're like certain ones are like the realized value is $17 and they're at like $3.
Yeah, exactly. So, now, yesterday, they also posted on the website that, he took over Sushi, and they also posted on the website that they were moving all liquidity to Sushi. All liquidity had moved to Sushi. I actually went in last night to do a little bit of a DCA on one of the projects I'm involved with. And the price publicly out in the market was showing like 59,000 range. And Sushi was quoting it like 61.9. So I was a little concerned about that, because they have a shitload of liquidity to provide. And I don't know, maybe if my timing, maybe I was too soon. I don't know, but I'll check it again today and see where things stand. So anyway, big changes there. Like I said, I'm interviewing Redacted this afternoon. Had a great interview yesterday with a project I'm now referring to as the project that DeFi unintentionally forgot. And that's Bancor, which was the very first AMM ever. And which Ethereum Foundation helped fund or helped get going, because Vitalik wanted them to build it. And then Vitalik funded Uniswap, and Uniswap came out with a model that was different, but that was easier because it didn't require the Bancor token or a project token in order to supply the liquidity. Since then, Bancor has upgraded to a version 2.1, which allowed for a lot of more capabilities. But their version 3.0 is going to fucking blow people away. It is massive. It is composable. There are no limits. It is single-sided staking at like 40% APR on stables. It is composable, so other protocols can utilize it. There's all kinds of really cool shit coming down the pike. They disclosed a lot of things. There are some things that they can't talk about yet, but there are some really interesting alpha coming out in that one. I'm actually jumping that one ahead of the pack in my edit flow right now because I think it's going to be impactful. The version 3.0 is coming out by the end of this quarter, and there's just a lot of cool shit coming out from Bancor. I think they're gonna create a little bit of a storm, right? Because they basically guarantee no impermanent loss, right? So consider the fact that you can come in there and stake a stable and get 40% on your money and no risk of impermanent loss with insurance. And now projects can incentivize you with their tokens on top of that. So a project that's in Bancor can now incentivize with their own tokens, so people will provide more liquidity. Anyway, lots of cool stuff coming from those guys. I was blown away by the two guys, Nate and Mark Richardson, that I interviewed. Mark is a former chemist who joined the team a couple of year or so ago. Is kind of driving a lot strategically for the project, and just brilliant guy. Both of them brilliant, and I'm really excited to see how Bancor stirs it up. So, so that was quick
question, Brad. Quick question, and I'm gonna go back to 2018 here for a second. Remember when was Bancor tied in with EOS back then, and were they the ones that were trying to buy some of the tokens up and pull them into the EOS ecosystem? Was that Bancor?
I have no idea, man. No idea.
Because it must have just been me doing it. Because I remember reviewing a letter for our genetics client back then, where they were trying to pull the token into the Bancor protocol.
Not a clue. But this is a strong ass team. They have a lot.
Is it Draper? Is Bancor Draper?
No, I don't think so.
You know? Okay, then it's not Bancor.
They have a lot of really fucking big brain economists on their team. The guy that invented the euro is one of the economists that works with them. They have some really powerful models coming out. I'm just really, really impressed with where they're headed. So check out B&T.
Yeah, it is Draper.
It is Draper funded them.
Yeah.
All right.
150 million.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, everybody bitches about VCs, but they don't quit.
No.
You know, I mean, these guys
well, and here's
the tent in 2018.
The project never quit, and they still had hundreds of millions in liquidity in the project. Like, it wasn't like anybody stopped. They have a hardcore community. They have entire processes for diligence of approving tokens that come into the pools. It's a buttoned up fucking operation. You know what else it is? It's the exact kind of operation that TradFi will want to connect to. It is absolutely a potential gateway. I'd definitely put it in the top tier of when this is composable, of potentially bridging into TradFi quite a bit, because it's stable, strong, smart, conservative, good yield project. Just thoroughly impressed with these guys. Blown away. So anyway, let's see. By the way, real quick, Incubator announced another investment in Vesta Finance. So you guys can check that out on their Twitter feed under Olympus Incubate. So, they're still working. They're still busy. Joe, is this you sent me this Cross the Ages metaverse game? Never mind.
Today?
I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. This is interesting. The fucking president of El Salvador is doing all the trading on behalf of the country, shitloads of Bitcoin, of billion, whatever the amount is. It's a lot of fucking money on his phone. He's doing all the buys himself.
I know. This was up a few weeks ago. A lot of heat. Obviously, it's a little bit.
I didn't even see this.
Risk.
I had no fucking clue. What the?
No, he's trading it on his phone. The country's sovereign wealth fund.
That's some crazy shit, dude.
Well, yeah, they're already starting to, for the sovereign risks issues. Of course, they're, Bancor doesn't. Sorry, just getting distracted by our banner.
Sorry.
No, but it's just from a security standpoint, and plus, it's not even a multi-sig wallet. You know, I mean, don't you think that should be multi-sig? I mean, so he loses the election.
Fucking Robin Hood going Bitcoin.
Let's short the Nicaraguan shit. Come on, let's
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just doing this on Coinbase institutional account or something. You know, that's doable. That's certainly doable. You can do that. But it's just fucking hilarious.
Well, it kind of, you know, look, it's not really, you know, protecting the individual investors, say the citizens of El Salvador, too well. That he is doing all of that with the, you know, the sovereign wealth. Well, maybe he's good at it. He's going to be good or bad. If he's bad, he won't be around. He's good, he'll get reelected.
Real quick, red alert. If you've used AnySwap to bridge, a critical vulnerability was found. And I actually went to search for this article because I was on AnySwap last night trying to get some fucking Ethereum onto fucking mainnet. So over mainnet. There are 6 tokens that if you've bridged or given permissions to their AnySwap contract, and they're now called multi-chain, you need to go into their site. They've put a button there when you connect your wallet to tell you, hey, you need to revoke if you're one of the people that needs to revoke. The tokens are WETH, Perry, OMT, WBNB, Matic, and AVAX. 3 of those I have transferred on that bridge. So, and they're not, doesn't look like they're reimbursing for gas for that fuck up, but whatever. I'm just glad nobody came in and drained my wallet. So if you've got, if you've used AnySwap or multi-chain, get to their site, app.multichain.org, and there'll be a link at the top of the page that'll tell you to revoke contracts if you need to. So I would highly recommend going there with your wallets and checking. I've got.
What website is that again?
You can, well, most people started off going to AnySwap, but it's app. Here, let me put it on the screen. App.multichain.org.
Thank you, sir.
Let me put this on the screen. Banners.
Yeah, I hate doing, you know, I went and looked at my, you know, I don't do anything on ETH at all anymore other than off ramp. And, you know, because I revoke all the permissions on all the other chains constantly.
Yeah, but you can't on ETH because you get killed.
$60 a revocation, basically.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
like fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and I started thinking about, you know, those other tokens that one, I don't want to say the name of it, but you know, where I went in and texted the CEO in the Telegram channel, and you know, because they'd done a manual migration of stake tokens, which seemed weird. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to go through this whatever," and it's like the first thing I got to do is enter my wallet seed phrase, and I'm like, "Fuck that shit! I don't give a shit about these tokens." Because everything's in that wallet, you know. It's like my NFTs are all there. You know,
I will tell you, I've started breaking out specific things for specific purposes. Like for Eureka, I created a separate wallet, right? Because I didn't know what the hell's going on there. And I have started, and it's a pain in the ass to manage, but it's much safer. And so I've been doing more of that. The problem is managing it with the hardware wallet, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. So,
yeah.
Anyway. So that's a big notice. Oh, real quickly, all Ohm holders, I don't know if they have a limited amount on Tokamak, but there is now staking of GOM on Tokamak. I guess that's how you say it. And that's a fairly reputable project. Anyway, 7% on deposits and then 42% on voting. I don't know how this works. If anybody does, feel free to chime in and let us know. But bottom line is, all of you licking your wounds could actually at least get a little something by staking your GOM there if you feel safe. I have no idea the audit levels for Tokamak, but I do know that a lot of projects like them and partner with them, including Alchemix, etc. That doesn't make it safe. Do your own research. I'm not your financial advisor. Nothing is really safe in DeFi, but you know. It's there and it's there. So that's Bancor. Let's see. Do I have anything else, Joe? You have anything else? I'm good today. I got a 1 o'clock. I got a hard stop at 1. I got 14 minutes.
When you were down doing something, I went through a couple of other things. Hold on. Oh, that's another old comment. Let me just pop through my Telegram thing real quick just to make sure we got through it all. It'll take 2 seconds if we didn't. Where's this?
This one I saw yesterday that you sent over.
Which one?
That a lot of the hacks in DeFi were due to centralization issues. There's a shocker. That makes sense. That's
well, it's the cheat when you can't decentralize.
Exactly. So should make people think about it, right?
There was a good.
This is one I saw yesterday. Maybe they've been working on this a while and I just hadn't heard about it, but I try to follow Polygon's news pretty closely. They launched the fastest ZK scaling technology and sadly have called it Plonky 2. I'm sure there's some nerd reason why it's called Plonky 2, but Plonky is not a name or brand that invokes speed for me. I don't know about you, but
sounds too like clunky.
Clunky, plonky. Yeah, it's just plodding, plonky, clunky. It's just bad. It's just bad. I don't know if they're trying too hard to be cute, but it says Plonky 2, so maybe they had this product before and it was called Plonky, and that's why they call it Plonky 2.
Maybe there's some character in Indian culture that we don't know.
I have never heard of it. So they've launched a $1 billion fund for ZK-based solutions last year. I didn't know that either, which is awesome. They really want to push. I think ultimately Polygon wants to rely less on their proof of stake chain and more on the ZK stuff. So anyway, I'm still a big believer in that team and what they're doing and love what they're doing. So good stuff there.
Yeah, I did see something in one of I didn't get it up today, but how they did EI 1559 implementation as well. And supposedly their gas fees have gone up.
Yeah.
I haven't done any trading on there today. I don't know. But I'm just curious to see what that has to do with my lack of fees on Polygon that I like so much.
So I had a conversation with today on Telegram. And I'm not going to reveal how I connected with this person, but with one of the founders of IOST, which is a 2018-ish high-speed blockchain.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, you guys, there's like $500 million in market cap, I think there, something like that on IOST. I don't know, let me look and see. They're very popular in Asia. I think specifically Japan. I think there's been some NFT plays there as well. But there's nada for DeFi, right? And what I said was, market cap is 642 million, trading volume 36 million in the last 24 hours, 37 million. I said to him, I said, you've got this high-speed blockchain. Now, I normally wouldn't say this to any of the old school blockchains, but there's a couple of things in their favor. The speed, the fact that they use readable human addresses, ETH addresses. But here's the kicker. All smart contract development is being done in JavaScript, and they're launching an EVM emulator. So I said, I would think a project like this, who has the ability to circumvent one of the biggest problems in DeFi, which is finding developers, right? Like I was talking to Scoopy at Alchemix yesterday. He is desperate for developers. Everyone is desperate for Solidity developers. And you can't just hire a beginner Solidity developer. You have to hire somebody with experience, somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing. And especially now when they're kind of just urgently trying to build. But imagine how many exponential more JavaScript developers are out there, right? And high-end ones, right? Like I got a buddy who has a firm in Argentina, and he has 200 high-end, top-notch, like high-quality developers available as a firm on a monthly basis, right? Imagine the projects that could get built if this project could become an L1 player in the DeFi space. Because You expand out and open the universe of developers to JavaScript, you can do almost anything. And if you have EVM compatibility, then you can start getting you can incentivize with a fund, some of the bigger existing funds to come over, projects to come over, get some of their community members over. And pretty soon you've bootstrapped a nice, DeFi layer one. So anyway, look, I'm just giving unsolicited advice, but I had no idea that IOST was JavaScript based, but I frankly think that has huge potential. So anyway.
Yeah, no, well, you're addressing an important constraint, developer talent. Yeah. And when there is choke points like this, and there have been in the past, I remember all the PeopleSoft developers and Oracle financials and DBA types back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, I remember sitting in on one of the recruiters at this IT services company I was at, and I'd call him and talking to some PeopleSoft person. And like, well, first of all, I don't travel, and this is like in the 90s, and I'm $250 an hour, and that's it. That's the interview. And, and then all these other idiots that were like, the person at the company shoveling the paper into the scanner for the legacy conversion to PeopleSoft, then go out and now they're PeopleSoft analysts, and they want $180 an hour. And you figure out it's like someone who's basically can barely operate a fax machine. But the point is that if you could take a whole pool of like already existing tech talent, like Java developers, and put them to work doing something like this, that's pretty huge. Just so you know, I was just looking at it. January 2018 was when it launched. Got about $500 million market cap, it looks like.
Yeah, 642.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2.8 cents a price right now. Pretty decent volume.
Now look at that chart over the last year, man. I mean, look, you got higher lows as long as this maintains here. Now you don't have higher highs, but you're maintaining a nice price range. I mean, it's not horrible to look at. It's a Cardano. It's a Cardano chart.
Yeah. Well, look at that nice run in July. I mean, it was started running in June, and then there's July 15. Yeah, it already moved like 50% before July 15th, from like July 1, June 20th, and then it ran up to, what does that look like? 7.8 on the 9th of September, and then it's been a slow drip since then. Yeah. Like you said, it's on all the exchanges.
Yeah.
Ultra fast, decentralized nodes, wallets, consensus, proof of believability protocol, successful founder who's had a couple of exits. Looks like they got crypto lending. Wait, no, it might be something else. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I do see that they're operating in Beijing now, it looks like. So I don't know how, with all the crypto crackdown there, I don't know what's going on.
Are you sure about Beijing?
Well, it says Zhang founded other tech startups in the U.S. and China. During his university days, he sold for $40 million, changing class notes. After that, he returned to Beijing and co-founded IOST, among other projects.
Yeah, I don't know if the project is founded there. I don't know if the project is based there, though. And he is not. One of the founders I know is not in
Beijing.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. There's like 6 or 7 big founders there, so you're going to have 1 or 2 overlapping.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if they can. I'd like to see the current stuff, I guess.
Well, so anyway, he said, look, we're working on EVM emulator. And, I said, all you've really got to do is get a bridge up and running across a few chains and incentivize some developers and, get some copy pasta going or get a few big projects over. And you can make a nice run, especially with the amount of fucking liquidity they have out at all these major exchanges. I mean, between that, to me, this feels like a sweet potential. Look, it's still a hard road. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. You can't just launch into DeFi with an L1. But if you have high speed, 8,000 transactions per second, if you have the ability to recruit a lot more developers than you can in the Solidity world, and you can make development easier and simpler, then human readable addresses, EVM compatibility, all those things. If you can launch back out with that and have, when you launch, several cool projects in the space. I think you got some good potential to take a little bite out of DeFi.
Yeah, and I mean at 2.7 cents.
Yep.
I mean, it is interesting because it's pretty robust looking. I mean,
yeah,
exactly. Definitely have to dig into this more. But yeah, I like this because, like you said, even if it's a Cardano play, I mean, Cardano went from like 8 cents to $2 and something.
Yeah, but they're functional and real.
IOS or
they're
Cardano?
Not a fucking IOS. Yeah. They're not a fucking academic circle jerk. So,
the amount of times
apologies. I have an extreme bias. For those of you, I know we have listeners that like Cardano, so my apologies. I just have a very extreme bias on that project, so please don't take personal offense to my extreme bias with Cardano.
I could say something, but I'm not going to, because I would tear through about like 4 offended segments of society, and that's not what I like to do. But yeah, no, I look. I dealt with the Emergo folks, and I think what's the other one? IOHK, which were the commercialization arms.
Yeah. And
those were great people. I mean, I was trying to do some stuff there with encryption back in the day. And but they were so far away from being able to really get anything done. Having a platform or anything to do.
Problem of academic think. It's a classic problem. Hey, buddy, I got to wrap it up.
I got
1 o'clock. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Everybody that participated today, I love that shit. Please keep those comments coming. We may just start handing out the link to people that are commenting and have them just fucking join us on the show, Joe. I think that'd be even easier, right? Let's get into these.
Yeah, turn to like
let's get this community in a discussion. Oh, very quick update on We're Forked. I'm going to try to set up a voice conversation for hopefully tomorrow in the Discord with everybody, because I think we all need to stop and assess our investment strategy. And so when we vote, we make sure we're voting on, at least parameters based on all this rebase changes. So I just want to have that discussion. The contract is ready. I had a couple of tweaks on one part of it, Joe, that I sent back to the attorney, but we're about there. Thank you for listening, Joe. I'll connect with you later today. Love you all. Cool. Appreciate you sharing us, rating us, reviewing us on iTunes. It all helps. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. You have a great day too. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right,
bye-bye.